I'm addicted to the thrill. It's a dangerous love affair. Victories within the mile. Almost there, don't give a
So, you know what we're going to do? See you in Fayetteville. See you in Fayetteville. On my night. No goodbye. Natty! Suck in the buzzer! It goes in
Now, entering Natty State Studio, the sports media palace of Mid-America, the Wolf of Center Street. Here's your host, John Nabors.
And welcome in to the John Nabors Show here live from Natty State Sports Studios. Appreciate everybody listening in and watching in on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I am your host, John Nabors, and thank you as always for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon, as we're going to have a fun-filled show for you, and actually going to have quite a few guests here on the show. As in the first hour, we'll have Chris Gordy of the Locked On SEC podcast, as well as Sports Talk 790 down there in Houston. Talk to him a little bit about what's going on in college football landscape, specifically the SEC. And also going to have a really special guest, as Rashad Deion, the Razorback running back, joined us in studio earlier today. And we had a chance to catch up with him and talk about not only his spring practice, but about some of the changes that have gone on with his particular position group at the running back, as well as the offense, and a lot of great things in general. So we really look forward to catching up with Rashad Deion and talking with him as well. And with that being said, of course, we're going to hear from you. If you want to get in on the conversation, you can get into the chat as we are live streaming. You can also get after us in the phone lines, that is. We had a lot of people call in yesterday, and always appreciate that. So if you want in and get your voice heard, then you can also call in at 936-246-2889. That's 936-246-2889. You can call in. We'll get you right up. And also, we may try the video thing again, where, instead of calling in, you can video in, zoom in, if you would. We may do that later in the show, too, and see how that goes. I'm sure it'll be fine. It was fine yesterday. It wasn't too bad. I actually had Michael Bratton join us, which was pretty funny. So we'll may give that the old college try once again. But a lot of things to get to. And as you know, with, of course, the title officially of today's show dealing with Razorback basketball, as is tradition, it's a constant that this team is continuing to try to build and trying to get better and trying to make sense out of what some of the guys that they have and some of the position groups that need to be hit on, or at least discussed and to talk about. So let's go ahead and bust into the latest. No, not a commitment just yet, at least not the time at the recording of this show. But DJ Wagner, the former Kentucky basketball player, the point guard, has officially, I guess I should say it that way, has been scheduled for an official visit. John Rothstein's originally the one that reported it. And according to UnitedStatesSports.com, that's going to be happening this weekend. So he's one of the top available backcourt transfers. And, of course, him playing for Kentucky and playing for Cal only makes sense that there would be some sort of connection there. Ironically enough, what's funny is the other known visit since entering the portal was actually to Southern California, the University of Southern California, to see Eric Musselman. So that's pretty funny. But either way, he had 28 starts as a true freshman last year, so he'd be a true sophomore this year. He averaged about 10 points a game, 3.5 assists a game, 2 rebounds a game, and played about 26 minutes per game. He had 13 double-digit scoring performances, and he also had a back-to-back stretch in November where he scored 22 points on St. Joe's with 28 points against Marshall in the next week. He also did really good in the beginning of the SEC in his play there. He had the SEC best of 19 points with 4 made three-pointers against Florida, and also He finished with that against Arkansas over in Rupp Arena. Everybody scored in that game. You and I scored in that game. Everybody was there. But either way, he is the number 51 overall transfer and the number 2 available point guard, according to On3. Isn't that kind of crazy? When you think about if you're like a number 1 or number 2 player at your position, you feel like you're going to be pretty high in the national rankings. But how wild is that he's number 51 as far as the overall transfer portal guy, but number 2 at his position? So I think it goes to show you that there's just not a whole lot of point guards that are readily available, or there are a lot of other great players that are going to be into the mix too. So we know that Big Z also was of Kentucky, and Edu Thiero also played with Kentucky. They've already committed and signed with Arkansas, and now they're going to be looking to try to bring in DJ Wagner, which I hope they do. We discussed all the different areas of need that Razorback basketball has tried to get with. I mean, you think about in the game of basketball, it's not simply just about like, get these players and it's good to go. You got to be able to build around it. You got to be able to make sense out of it. You got to be able to make a point guard. You got to have a big man, front court, back court. Like you got to do all those things. And fitting them into the right position, into the right group to where they can succeed and move forward is so important. And I think that Calipari has done a fine job of that. And if they're able to get DJ Wagner, shoot. That's going to be just another little piece of icing on the top of the cake. Like I know that he's done a great job in the portal so far. I know he's going to continue to do a great job out of the transfer portal, but I'm just really, really hoping that they can add him into the mix and be some familiarity and continue to grow. If they got him and say Keyshawn Pryor, which is the kid from South Florida, if they were able to get both of those guys, we were talking about this at lunch today with me and the Natty boys. But if they were able to get one of those guys, it would be, you'd be flirting with top 10 preseason, maybe even in top 10 preseason. But if you got both of them, if you were able to get both Wagner and Pryor, I'd be hard-pressed to think that most college basketball experts worth their salt would have Arkansas flirting with the top 5. For sure, solidly in the top 10, but flirting with the top 5. And that's not bad for a team that's so far been assembled, at least what I've been told, as a bunch of guys who can't play, aren't that good, team that is not going to play very well together, blah, 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 all that stuff. We know what we're talking about. We're not going to give that time of day, though, because everything's good right now. Arkansas continues to try to get players and get guys added and build upon what they have going on. So I'm excited about many things with Razorback basketball, but it certainly seems like things are going really well for the transfer portal, for the recruiting, for all elements of it. And this team is just going to be so fun to watch. You think about what you've thought about in this going into a season under Eric Musselman and how the expectations were there. And there were a lot of fun moments and a lot of fun seasons and a lot of fun finishes for sure. But there were times, especially this past season, where there was really no fun to be had. No fun to be had. I look at the team that's being assembled right now, and it seems like there's going to be a lot of fun. I just don't see in any way, shape, or form that this team, has a losing record, or a team that ends up not making it into the NCAA tournament. I thought about that team last year too, but this is almost a whole different animal because we're talking about guys who have NBA potential, NBA talent, guys that are going to get drafted after just this next season. So if you have that alone and you have multiple guys like that, there's no reason to believe that they won't be much better, much improved, really good, really fun, and really entertaining. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to be tough to find tickets. It already is, but it's just going to continue to be fun. Like, you think about, the red white game? 20,000 people will probably be there. Arkansas plays like Alcorn State or, south, north, west of Monroe of Louisiana. Whoever. They're going to be hot tickets. We may, when we get to the season, get closer to the season, I think that'll be a fun prop bet. Maybe we can start putting some odds on it. But how fun would that be to be able to put an over-under of all right, or not even over-under, just say which game on the schedule, once it's finalized, will be the least attended game of Bud Walton Arena? And how many will it be? We don't know the schedule, so I don't know. But I'd be hard-pressed to think that there's less than ever 17,000, 18,000 people at a game. At least in the first year, especially if things go really well. I just don't see that being an issue. So it's exciting times. We'll see what the visit has for Wagner. And as you all know, when it comes to these things, when it comes to Wagner, it comes to these visits, it's all about getting the visit and then committing right after. If he goes to a visit this weekend and then next week it's on Tuesday or Wednesday and there's no word or anything, it probably means that he's going to be moving on to somewhere else. But it could be a quick turnaround. It could make sense. And man, I just hope they get him and Pryor both. Those are the next ones on my target. Those are the ones that I'm really looking at too. So, but yeah, we'll continue to keep you updated on that and be sure to follow Pod at the Palace as they're always going to stay on top of it too. But folks, I wanted to tell you about our newest sponsor here at Natty State Sports. It's Bro Throw. If you like to bet on sports, like I do, and even though I'm not very good at it, but I still enjoy playing it. But you're tired of playing the juice and paying the juice through the bet and through a sports book, then we've got something going on for you, because we know that sports betting is such a major part of sports these days that we decided to partner with a new social sports betting company called Bro Throw. Now, a lot of you have been asking me about Bro Throw, and it's a really unique and awesome, different type of web app that you'll see from other betting sites. I use it to bet directly with other people on fair terms, because it's got to be fair. $10 to win, $10 instead of $11 to win $10. It's completely legal in all 50 states. It's free to sign up, which is also a key ingredient to all of this. You got to be 18 years or older to make an account, and there's no vig. Pays even money. On Bro Throw, bettors create and accept bets directly with each other instead of paying more to all these other fees that go elsewhere. It's just straight up paying more to bet against the house, and then you don't have to worry about that. So sign up today at brothrow.com/natty. That's brothrow.com/natty, Natty. Connect payment accounts like Venmo and Cash App and get to betting with Bro Throw. All right, so let's go ahead and kick it off with the phone lines here. As it's been a minute. How about this? Let's go and see and hear from Trey, who's in Harrison. What's up, Trey? Going good, man. All right. Yeah, appreciate you calling in. Trey, I know it was hard to hear you coming through there, so we'll try to get that fixed up for you. For those of you that were calling in, because it was hard for me to hear too, so we'll see if that was on my end or his. But basically what was being discussed with what Trey was saying was about football side of things. And it had to do with the way of going into the season and the approach that's being made to the season and how different it is. It feels like maybe it feels like a little bit better. Maybe people aren't really giving Arkansas a chance, which I know we're going to talk about that with Gordy later in the show too. But yeah, I think that it's a tough thing to where you want to be optimistic, but you want to be realistic. And you see other teams around Arkansas, for instance, Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin, Lane Kiffin's a really great coach. But I think most people have always felt like it was a even swipe between two programs like that. Sometimes it was more about Ole Miss, depending on the coach, who they had. Sometimes it was Arkansas. Like Hugh Freeze was one of the most successful coaches at Ole Miss, but Arkansas kind of owned him. And isn't it weird, though, that Lane Kiffin's there at Ole Miss? And I'm not saying Arkansas's owned Ole Miss. They're 2-2 against them, but Arkansas's either blown them out or barely lost on the road. So there's something about Ole Miss that game with Arkansas is always weird. But the point is like Razorback fans have always viewed that as two programs that are pretty similar. But yet here recently, there's no doubt that the program of Ole Miss has been better. They've had 10 wins last year. Before that, they had 8. Before that, had 10. And Arkansas hasn't. And, and you see like a program like Missouri, which, I mean, they've been really kind of just overall in their history, a bottom feeder of most of their conferences and most of their times. And, they went through a stretch where they didn't even have a winning season for a while. But then this past year, they had a good one. And we got to figure this out. So, but the problem is that you just got to be able to put there and get the coaching into the place that you need to have it. You need to have things going the right way and according to plan and making it work. But it's, you got to make sure you got the right guys. Got to have the right coaches, the right roster, right everything. So hopefully that answered your question. I know it's kind of hard to hear you, my man, but hopefully that answered your question there too. Yeah, because then I don't know if that was the sound on my end or if that was his end, but whatever it is, I changed something and maybe it'll work now. Yeah, the sound stuff is always interesting when it comes to, you're going through the phone lines, you're going through some of the deals on one video here. Like I said, getting in the video chat part of it too, but yeah, it could be all over the place. I am going to talk about this player that Razorback football just had committed. It's pretty fun. In fact, let's go ahead and get into that now because I know we got some guest wise that we're going to have to do. Let's go ahead and get into that. So what a story dealing with this, where it's according to Richard Davenport of HawkSports.com. He's the first one to had it. Monty Harrison, who is a former professional baseball player and a 4-star wide receiver in high school nearly a decade ago, has committed to play football at Arkansas. That's kind of a mouthful, but let me repeat that. A former professional baseball player who also happened to be a 4-star wide receiver coming out of high school a decade ago has committed to play football at Arkansas. He's 28 years old, going to be 29 next month, and he's nearly 30, I guess is really what it comes down to. The man's nearly 30. So I have just been loving this story. Like, isn't this what America is all about? Isn't this what it's supposed to be about right here? I mean, come on. This is such a cool story for him. Now, he's a walk-on, so it's not like it's taken away from the scholarship. But when he was asked about being a preferred walk-on, he's going to have his tuition paid as part of the term in his pro baseball contract. He said, Arkansas is close to home and family-oriented because he lives in Kansas City. Baseball, I never really had the opportunity to be able to choose where I wanted to go. I was always far away from home and from family, not being able to see me all the time. I think it's just going to be a great opportunity. I have a lady and a son, so being connected back home to my family and then being able to still be able to drive home and see them and being able to drive up and see me, I thought it was a very big deal. He's 6'3", 225 pounds. And he actually signed on to play football and baseball in Nebraska, but he was drafted the same year by the Brewers, who selected him 50th overall in the second round of the draft. He also chose Arkansas over Nebraska and Tennessee. How about that? So really cool story. Awesome story. And I was doing this too because let's look at this man's highlights, okay, coming out of high school. In fact, I want to make sure I tweet that out for everybody. I want to make sure that everybody knows. Like, this guy has a highlight film that's 10 years ago. I mean, this is like living the dream. I wrote about this on nattystatesports.com. This is everybody's, like, dream. I mean, I'm 35. So I'm even older than he is. But how cool would it be to be able to, you're sitting there in your late 20s, about to be 30, you're just looking around like, man, what am I doing here? I wish I could go back in time and play a different sport, try something else. It's like, oh, I know. I'll just go and play SEC football. All right, cool. Like, you're a grown man, and we've seen it happen. We've seen, Chris Winkie, I believe, was that way. Brandon Whedon over at Oklahoma State was that way. I mean, that's the coolest thing about it. He's an adult. He's a grown man. And I needed to look at like some of the coaches on staff and see if he's the same age or older than any of the coaches. Now, that would be funny. That would be funny. And I don't remember this happening to Arkansas anytime recently. And if it did, please let me know in the chat if I'm wrong about it. All right, let's see. All right, let's go ahead and look at this. Let's look at these highlights. Should we play the music with it? Will I get demonetized if I do? Let's see. All right, let's do this. Okay, we'll go. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Look at that quality. Look at that stuff. What music do we have going on here? What music is it? Oh, yeah. Tell me it doesn't scream 2014 right here. Oh, yeah, here we go. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this blocking downfield. Great block. Great block. Look at that. Exactly. Katrina's going to love this kid. All right, let's see this. Let's see this now. Let's see this. You got the highlight here. He's going. He's running out. Another great block. Great blocking downfield. Beautiful. All right, what about this? Can we see him get? Can we actually see him get a pass this time? Here we go. Going over the top. Little flash. Little lens flare. Look at him go up and get it. Onions double order. Oh, now look at this. Is this a wildcat formation? Heck yeah. Here we go. Now we're cooking with gas. Look at him go to the house. See ya. No flags. Oh, did he get in? Did they call him out? Oh, you're shorted. Look at this. He can play a little quarterback, too. I don't know what that defense was doing having no one out there, especially considering that position group, but all right. See, I think this is so cool, like watching these highlights and whatnot. The music is what makes it. I don't know about it. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I'm rooting for this guy. I know I'm having some fun with it, but I am truly rooting for this individual. Like he is a guy that I cannot wait to see more of. I think it's like the American dream. There you go. We'll busting it out and everything. Like he is truly a guy that sums up the American dream. You think you're too old, you think you can't play anymore, and then boom, you're was it Paul Blake and Unnecessary Roughness, right? You're out there feeling like you're getting after it and living out your dream. I don't know if he's going to play. I don't know, and I don't know, but I hope he does. I truly hope he does. I'm rooting for him. This guy's a hero. He is a hero. He deserves the key to the city. He deserves never to pay for a drink at Tin Roof, which will be on Thursday, by the way, so come out and see us. I think this is a great story. I'm going to try to get him on the show. I'm going to work on that. I know sometimes players are really tough to hear from and to talk with and all of that, but I think he's somebody that I might be able to get. I'll be pretty bummed if I don't, or if I can't. That would be kind of a disappointment, to say the least. Slight disappointment. We'll get to your phone calls. I know some people are calling in. We'll get to that here in just a second. But, folks, I got to tell you, as we gear up for another weekend of SEC baseball, let's talk about strategy, not just on the field, but for your life. One of our newest and greatest sponsors here on Natty State Sports is brought to you by L. Jennings Law, your go-to experts in estate planning, specializing in trust, business planning, and elder law. Whether you're looking to secure your family's future with a solid estate plan, managing your business's succession plan, or navigating the complexities of a long-term care, L. Jennings Law has you covered. They craft personalized solutions with the same precision and impact as Hagen Smith has with his fastball, which last time I checked was pretty good. So call L. Jennings today for a free consultation. It's L. Jennings Law, a good steward firm at 501-501-WILL. That's right, 501-501-WILL or 501-501-9455. That is L. Jennings Law. All right, let's go ahead and get back to the phone lines because we got somebody want to talk about Monty Harrison, and that is Nick, who is in Fayetteville. What's up, Nick?
Hey, John, I hope you're doing well, man.
Yeah, I hope you're doing well as well.
Yeah, I was just wondering how much do you know about the rules and regulations of like NCAA and stuff for Monty to be like a professional athlete going back to college? I was just curious about that. I'm not really sure because it's like you if you go like to the declare for the NBA draft and you get an agent, you can't go back to college. So I'm just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, man. Because I've thought about it too. I'd have to double check and look at it, but I believe it's because he didn't have. There's something about if you didn't have any college eligibility used whatsoever in any sport, and you're able to come back and play a different sport as long as you didn't go professional in that particular sport. I believe that's what the rules are. So say if, just like kind of what we're seeing now, but say if there was a player that played professional football and was in the NFL but didn't work out for him. Well, I guess maybe that's not the greatest example because he went out of high school. I guess baseball is really the only thing about it because that's one of the only sports that you can go straight out of high school and play, at least in the major sports. Basketball, I guess, could have used to be that way, where it was you could be a player that comes straight out of high school, go to the pros, and if you did that, then you would be able to come back. But yeah, you can, as long as you go pro in something that's other than the sport you're coming back to play college in, that's okay. That's my understanding of it.
So he can't play baseball for us. I really want him to play baseball now.
Yeah, sadly not, man. Like that would be almost like a cheat code. That would be pretty cool. But no, he can't play baseball. It would be kind of cool if, like, I don't know, just seeing him getting out there and taking some BP with the guys and seeing how it works out for him. But no, sadly, he cannot play baseball, but he can play football.
My final thought is anybody that takes an official visit for John Calipari is going to end up in playing for us. So I'm rooting for whoever John Calipari brings on campus. Yeah,
I think that's kind of the way I've put it too, where if John Calipari wants the player, then I want the player. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. If it's somebody that he feels like is best served to be on the team and can really help him win, then sign me up. I'm here for it. Let's do it. So I think that it's going to be a win-win no matter what. So let's hope it's Wagner. Let's hope it's other ones too.
Yes, sir. Go Hogs.
All right, go Hogs. We appreciate you, man. Thanks for calling in. I guess it was Nick. Yeah, thanks for calling in, Nick. Yeah, those are the rules. Them's the rules from my understanding. And the NCAA is really weird about it. And I think it's kind of a cool thing. Because, again, we've seen it happen in football. And some players were really good. Like, they came back. Some players were really good. You know, I mentioned Chris Winkie, who won the Heisman. Brandon Weeden didn't win the Heisman, but I'm pretty sure he was like a All-American, maybe a borderline first-team All-American. He was a first-round pick, which if there was anybody that was going to draft him first round, it had to be the Browns, because the Browns that's just the most Browns thing ever. Browns thing ever. But they drafted him in the first round, too. It's also an absurd thing. Anyways, I'm rooting for Monty Harrison. I want to get him here at Natty State Sports. We got to talk to him. I don't care if it's on Zoom. I don't care if it's here in studio. We got to make that happen. Maybe I can get him over. Maybe he needs to come over to Tin Roof. Hang out with us over there on Thursday. I'm sure he'll be in town. I'm sure we'll talk about it with him too. So, let's see. Let's get to some of the chats now. Yeah, I'm glad the phone call was a lot better. I think I fixed it. I don't know if it was me or if it was him, but we got it fixed. That's all that matters. Let's see. Not this one. R. Ward says, so what was the rule that kept Marcus Monk from playing anymore with the basketball team? Yeah, that one was one. For those of you who may not remember, it was John Pelfrey's second year. And it was the year that Arkansas had a bunch of freshmen like Rodney Clark, Courtney Fortson, and everybody. And Marcus Monk played. He played football for 4 years, came back, played basketball, and actually was pretty good on the team. The dude kept Blake Griffin in check when Arkansas beat Oklahoma and Bud Walton. But then he was unable to play because I guess the NCAA stepped in and said no. I don't remember exactly what the rule was and why. First off, why he was even able to play to start with, and second off, what happened to make him change their mind, why they didn't come to a ruling before he was actually playing. But I wanted to say it had something to do with because he only played 4 years technically, but because of one of those years, I think it was his senior year in football, he was hurt the majority of the year, so he was able to try and get a medical red shirt for that, which gave him another year of eligibility to play. So that's why it was a very complicated thing, but that's what I believe. Could be completely wrong. I know it's crazy to think that the NCAA may not know what they're doing. Stop traffic. But yeah, that was a crazy time. I remember being a student for those games. Yes, I am that old. I remember being a student for those games and going in there and checking it out too. So, but that was pretty wild. That was pretty awesome. Okay, I know we're gonna try this thing again. I'm sure it's gonna go really well. And for some reason, I don't know why this guy is joining me right now. I'm gonna welcome him in. Let's go to my boy Koozie, who's over here. This has been way too long since we.
John, how you doing?
What's going on, my man? How are you?
Hey, am I echoing? Do I need to put in headphones?
No, you're not echoing on my end. So
Okay.
if you start echoing, the chat is going to let me know about it. Don't worry.
So I just want to speak on Monty Harrison just for a second here. As somebody who is in a very in-depth dynasty baseball league, former owner of Monty Harrison, this guy, people don't understand, he was a top 50 prospect in baseball as recent as 6 years ago.
Hey, hold on real quick, Koozie. Apparently you are echoing. So if you can fix that in your settings, all you got to do is get some headphones in there too. I don't know. Of course, that's what the chat's saying. I don't know if the chat's true or not. But there's some people that are saying he's echoing. But now they're saying they're not echoing. The chat is a bunch of bipolar liars or truth tellers, one of the two.
Well, if I'm not echoing.
You're not echoing. Just talk. Let's do this.
Okay, yeah. So what I wanted to say, essentially, what you have to understand about Monty Harrison, this guy is an athletic freak. When he really came onto the scene, he was with Milwaukee. He got traded to Miami, I believe, in the Christian Yelich trade. But I mean, this guy was top 50 prospect, freak athlete, crazy wheels. Like, this guy playing wide receiver with, not a lot of hits on him since high school. That is something that you can really get behind. So I'm telling you right now, and I've been wrong on your show about some predictions, but I've also been right. Pick six Hicks.
Dude, I was going to say, if this is the man, by the way, for those of you who don't know, my buddy Koozie here was a guy who went to SMU. He's a big SMU guy. And when Arkansas hired Chad Morris and they had Ben Hicks coming in, I remember texting Koozie. I still have the text. It's like, hey, man, what are your thoughts on Ben Hicks when he transferred to Arkansas? And Koozie called it. He said, you want no part of pick six Hicks. So I've at least since that point in time, I'm like, you know what? He may not get them all right, but he got that one right. So he gets the benefit of the doubt from me.
I think you're bringing in a 28-year-old wide receiver who's probably got like the legs of a 24-year-old. Hasn't been doing much the last few years. I just wanted to call him, be excited about it, because Monty Harrison's a freak, man. Like, he can cover center field. He can definitely go get a deep ball.
Dude, I'm pumped by it. I think that it's going to be nothing but a positive, especially because he's a preferred walk-on, so it's not like it's taken away from the scholarship. Yeah. And I think he's a guy that's easily to root for, hey, it's 28, about to be 29 years old, playing college football in the SEC. What's he got to lose, man? He's just out there having a good time. So I'm hoping that it blows up to become this huge deal that everybody gets pumped up and excited about. That would be the best thing ever.
Well, hey, man, I'm actually I'm going to be there for the Louisiana Tech game. I'm going to be in town for a wedding. So we got to link up for that. I think it's the Saturday before Thanksgiving.
Yes. Back right when Arkansas football is really going to be really exciting, and everyone's going to be excited about what they're doing, and not.
Yeah, it's like walkover games so we can get to 10-0. Eyes on the Natty. But John, I had to call in. I saw Monty Harrison, and I've been following this story all day just because I'm like, hey, that's my boy. I'm like, I know I recognize that name, and then I put it together. But
dude, I'm so glad you did. It's good to hear from him. Glad you could give us some insider knowledge on the man himself. So we're rooting for him here.
Of course, man. Hey, good luck with the show. Always good talking to you. Love you, buddy.
You as well, Koozie. Appreciate you, my man. Yeah, that's my boy Koozie coming in hot and giving us some hot takes. Love it. See, the video worked. As everyone's talking about the echoes at the beginning. Y'all, I'm telling you, There's some dirty games getting thrown around here, some dirty games. And I'm not going to stand for it. I'm not going to stand for it. But it was probably actually echoing in the beginning, but we got it done. Let's see. If you want the conversation, folks, 936-246-2889. And if you want to do the video chatting thing, go to my Twitter, John Nabors Show, and click the link. And we'll discuss it there. Sure, it'll go well. Let's see from the chat, jerks. Chris Hunter, I love this. This was the one I wanted to bring up. It says, dodging Bielema in 2014, only to play for Petrino 10 years later, is an absolute chess move. Yep. He's playing the long game, my friends. He's playing the long game. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. He knew how he was going. That's what was all part of his plan. And I'm big on that. I respect it. Let's see. Heartbroken Hog says, Brandon Weeden was good enough to trick the Browns into using a first-round pick on him. Yeah, he was. Same with like Johnny Manziel and pretty much everybody else. I can't wait to see what that guy does. I know it's so weird that the most exciting thing that I've had to talk about football has been this here in a while. But I know we're going to be having Rashad Deion joining us. I'm really looking forward. He's a great guy and has a really cool story and journey. You know, he's a football player that has a kid, and he's been taking care of his son, which is always a really cool element and dynamic to talk to about balancing not only being a student, but being an athlete, but being a father. So I really look forward to catching up with him, and he's somebody that I know people are going to be pretty excited about and hearing from, especially. So let's see. I love that Koozie popped on. So also, those of you who don't know, I don't think any of you care, but to give a little background on Koozie, if you've ever heard of the company Old Row was huge when I was in college. I know it's kind of like, I think it's still around. But either way, Kooz was part of the founding fathers, if you would, of the company Old Row. So met him through that, and he's always been a good dude. So really appreciate him jumping on with us. Let's see. Forkenstein says, didn't Nick Starkel beat him out? If you're talking about Ben Hicks. Okay, nobody beat out anybody in that whole fiasco because there was never a quarterback that beat out anybody. It was mainly just like who Chad Morris decided to play because he didn't know any better. So, stop. Some of you are mean in the chat too. God, Nick Starkel, Ben Hicks. I did not think I was going to be making reference to these guys, but here we are. Heartbroken Hawk says, people with kids and wives are who you want. They are mature adults and leaders, and more people like this on your team, the better. Yeah, I agree. Nick says, John, I know the reason why you're excited about Monty. The 35-year-old in you wants to strap up and play for the Razorbacks. Me too. Hey, listen, I'll be the first to agree with you on that one. And let me say this, not that anybody cares, but this shows you how like much of a child I can be. It's actually about 10 years ago. It was maybe 8 years ago. 2016. In 2016, I don't remember how it got started, but I thought it was such a cool idea. We had a media flag football game. It was during the springtime. I wish we could have got it going again this year. We keep talking about it, but either way, we did a flag football game where media members could sign up, come out, and the SIDs played along with us too, some of the GAs and whatnot. And we went out there in Razorback Stadium and played flag football. You know, it was very simple, very cool. Then we ate over at a restaurant afterwards and stuff. It was really great. But I am going to go into an aspect of like, again, being a child, like it was Christmas. I went out there. I was dressed ridiculous. I looked like a souped up Baker Mayfield minus the everything. I had like the eye paint and all that just because I like to have fun. And I remember I went out there and I think Jason Carroll of KNWA, formerly of KNWA, was the quarterback. And he had a decent arm. And I remember I beat my man on a pump move and sprinted out to the end zone. And he hit me it was probably like just like it felt like an 80-yard touchdown pass, but it was really like only like 20, 25. But I remember he hit me in stride, and I jumped up and caught it. And when I came down and I realized, like, I came down with the ball in my hands, And I looked down, and I was in the end zone of Razorback Stadium, and then I looked up, and I see Razorback Stadium in the stands. There was no one in the stands. But I could not tell you the feeling that I had at that moment. It's lame. I know it is. But it was like I had dreamed ever since I was a kid. I loved all sports, but like football was my sport. I dreamed of playing for the Razorbacks, and I dreamed of scoring a touchdown for the Razorbacks. And I never even got close to it. But that was the closest I'd ever get to it. And that moment right there was so cool. So, yeah, to answer your question and to say, yeah, it gives hope to all of the late 20s, early to mid 30 people out there saying, you know what? You got a chance at it. You can do it too. You can do it too. Simple as that. Okay. Well, now we're going to have to see something here. Lucky enough, Koozie's back with us. Koozie, what's now, man?
Well, I was just coming in to kind of look at the chat, but
you can't come into the thing and like I feel like you're on.
I didn't know how to like separate myself from it. But speaking of just random quarterbacks, I came across, and this is just totally aside. Man, I'm doing really bad at this. 1996 NFL draft. All right, I'm going to bring up a quarterback that I'd never heard of, and I consider myself very in tune with, first round picks.
Of course.
Jim Druckenmiller, 26th overall pick in the 1997 draft, quarterback. Never heard of the guy. Started one game in his NFL career. That's pretty much all I have to say. But Jim Druckenmiller went to Virginia Tech. Look him up, guys. I mean, I literally tried to find videos from 1997, the 49ers season, just to like see if this guy actually did anything. But yeah, Jim Druckenmiller, that's my name of the day. And yeah, sorry for the confusion here, John. I'm going to let you go back to doing what you do best.
It's a good to see you and hear from you again, Koozie.
All right. I'm signing out.
Yeah, no, it's great to hear you, dude. It's great to hear you. Because I was sitting there, I was like, man, did we say something wrong? Did I say something wrong? Is he come back to chastise me? What's going to happen here? Don't really know, but yeah. And Morgenstein, what everybody knows, like SMU going to get worked over by the ACC. So I'm sure that's not a slap at Koozie at all. So Heartbroken Hog says also, he's like, that's awesome, bro. That's not lame. I'd give any money to go play flag football with y'all on that field. Yeah, well, trust me, I'm never going to forget it. It was awesome. And that's why I really hope it happens again someday. I really hope that happens again someday. We'll see if it ever does. Holding out hope. But still. Let's see. I guess we're going to have Chris Gordy joining us here in just a second. But before we do that, we'll go ahead and jump into your Arkansas Update, brought to you by Davis & Garrett Insurance, your independent auto owner's insurance agency, securing what matters the most. And for your Arkansas updates, there's some significant news, like DJ Wagner is officially visiting Arkansas, which is big for them this weekend. Kentucky, formerly of Kentucky, is one of the best point guards in the transfer portal, the number 2 point guard overall, and certainly feels like Arkansas has got a puncher's chance at it. Just saying. So excited about that. Excited about where that'll go. And I know Razorback fans would love to hear about him being a part of it too. Also, the nearly 30-year-old dude, Monty Harrison, is now officially a Razorback. And he's going to be a preferred walk-on, which I said it was signed, and then some people got like, and you said it was signed, and he's not signed. He's committed. Difference. I'm like, I don't care. He's on the team. It's fine. So, anyways, he's going to be on the team. How cool is that? I think it's cool. In fact, most people come jumping in and say, like, that's like the story of the day right now. Is, hey, what do you think about this guy that's nearly 30 years old and playing football for the Hawks? I'm jealous. That's what I think of him. I'm jealous. I am excited for him. And again, I can't wait to interview him. That's going to be fun. Also, some former Razorbacks. I don't know if I mentioned this yesterday in the Arkansas update, but I'll go ahead and mention it again just in case. But some former Razorbacks that had entered into the transfer portal from Arkansas, like Devo Davis and Layden Blocker, they have officially found their homes, where Devo is going to Oklahoma State and Layden Blocker is going to DePaul. So, yeah. Good luck to him. Wish him nothing but the best. and we'll give we'll see how it goes with them. I don't know what it's going to be like for those teams. I don't know what, Blocker's got a lot more eligibility than Devo. Devo says like his final year, but he's going to Oklahoma State. They haven't been good, but maybe they'll be better. I don't know. But usually those situations don't usually go the way that everyone thinks for them. But good luck to them either way. And that is your Arkansas Update, brought to you by Davis & Garrett Insurance, your independent auto owner's insurance agency, securing what matters the most. Real quick before we take a break, and then we won't take a break. We'll just have Chris Gordy joining us from Locked On SEC. There was somebody, let's see, there's somebody in the chat that had a question for me, because I was on TexAgs this morning. I was on TexAgs' radio show with David Nuno. Good people over there, which isn't it. Real quick, sidebar. The media, it's not like fan bases. Some of the coolest people I know and some of my closest media friends are actually like A&M media people, ironically enough. Like Billy Lucci's a good friend of mine, who's owner and dude that runs TexAgs. In fact, there's a lot of inspiration that I got from him when it came to Natty State Sports. Matt Jones at Kentucky Sports Radio. I'm not as close with him, but I still talk with him and everything. It's like, I get it. He gets it, whatever. So it's just funny to me how some people are like, oh, man, I get to be friends with those guys. Like, in SEC Media Days, we're all friends with everybody. So, but either way, it comes from Thomas here. He says, John, on the podcast today, you said Beard was basically done until it wasn't. Can you go into more on what happened? Well, I mean, just from what I understand, like Chris Beard was the guy. I think that Yurachek felt strongly about it. And also, kind of getting into the midnight hour, something happened, whether it was from Arkansas side or from Chris Beard's side, that made it stop in the very end. And even if you don't believe what my sources tell me, or if I knew something, then look at it from the perspective of guys like Jeff Goodman, John Rothstein, those guys. Those guys were tweeting out about Chris Beard being the number one guy leading candidate, for Arkansas. They don't say that stuff unless there's legitimacy to it. Like, they've never, like, how often, I think it was the whole question, how often have you seen them tweet out, be like, this coach they're zeroing in on this coach to be the next head coach of so-and-so school, or this is the number one candidate, but whatever. They almost always get it right. And when they didn't, it just kind of made you think, okay, so something happened. Something happened at the end. But my understanding is that Chris Beard was wanting to come to Arkansas. Arkansas wanted Chris Beard, but there was just something that they could not overcome. One or the other, one side or the other, whether it was a contract term, whether it was the length of the contract, whether it was the NIL, whatever it was, something just didn't happen. But that was my understanding, and that's why I am all about being okay with John Calipari. That's fine, too. All right. I'll tell you what, we'll talk some football, right? Talk some SEC football. Chris Gordy, friend of the show, the Locked On SEC podcast, does a great job of covering them. So let's go ahead and hear what he has to say about the Razorbacks as well as the rest of the SEC. All right, I know we've been talking a lot about Razorback basketball pretty much ad nauseum, even Razorback baseball, but there is still Razorback football as well as SEC football to be talked about because, let's be honest, it's always football season in the SEC. Interesting year for Arkansas, but nonetheless, let's talk more about it as we go ahead and welcome in here on the John Nabors Show. Friend of the show, it is Chris Gordy of Sports Talk 790, as well as the Locked On SEC podcast. And Gordy, it's been a minute, but appreciate you joining us as always, man. How you doing?
Yeah, man, it's good. Finally, things kind of settled down. I watched a whole bunch of spring games and took copious notes. And even knowing many of these notes won't have any bearing on what happens in the fall, it's still fun to get excited about and overreact to what we see in spring. So all that's kind of settled down now. And, we've been talking a lot of basketball, too. I mean, Kentucky and Arkansas, the storylines are endless. So it's been a lot of fun. But, yeah, no, looking forward to getting into fall ball here real soon. We'll be at SEC Media Days, and football season will be here before we know it.
Yeah, that's what's the exciting thing that I know a lot of fan bases have. And Arkansas is kind of just all in on basketball and even baseball. Football they'll get excited about, but it's just kind of, like where nobody really expected last year to go the way it did. They went 4-8. We all know that. But if you are trying to talk to the Razorback fans and say, this is a reason why you should be optimistic, and optimism can be 7 wins, but what could you tell Razorback fans? What could you point to for Arkansas to say, hey, this is a reason why you guys should feel a little bit better going into this season than what you did a year ago.
Well, look, I'm excited about Taylor Green. I think that he's got a chance to be really good. I don't know if I'd go as far to say special, but I think he is tailor-made for the Bobby Petrino system. And, you know, we had him on the show, you know, biases aside, we had him on Locked On SEC a few weeks ago, and Taylor told us, like, you know, this is why I chose to come here, because of Bobby Petrino's track record with quarterbacks like me, the dual threat quarterbacks and all that. And so I had heard some good things throughout the spring. You know, I had kind of expected, oh, it's just going to be an open quarterback battle. And people I checked in with as spring was going along, they were going, no, it's Taylor Green's job to lose. And so, you know, watching the spring game, I get it. It's a spring game, but man, he executed the offense well. I mean, they went right down the field, threw a couple of touchdown passes. So, you know, to me, that's something to get excited about. And, you know, we'll see how good he is in SEC competition. We know what he looked like for Boise State. You know, it's a different level of competition, but I think he's hungry and ready to prove himself. And, you know, one of the things, you know, last year, the Arkansas offensive line just could never really get right. And KJ, I think they had tried to maybe keep him in the pocket a little bit more, and he wasn't able to do that. And then when they decided to run, it was a little bit too predictable. And so I think that's kind of probably why KJ Jefferson wasn't as good last year. But Bobby Petrino is not going to be predictable. I mean, he's gonna call the plays based on what the defense is running, what his quarterback can do. And so I do think this offense is going to be way better this year. And, you know, some people are saying, oh, well, how can Taylor Green be better than KJ Jefferson? It's just going to be different with Petrino calling plays. I love Jaquindon Jackson at running back. The sample size we saw from him, he's a hard runner, great catching the ball out of the backfield. He looked, you know, had a couple of those moments in the spring game. So, yeah, I like, you know, the retooling of the O-line, but I also think having a mobile quarterback can kind of offset, you know, times where the O-line isn't great. So, you know, you bring back all the receivers. I think the receivers look pretty good. So, you know, I'm a little bullish on Arkansas. For people who are, you know, picking them to go what, 4 wins or 3 wins. I think this team is, you know, more closer to 6-6 than they are being bottom of the barrel in the SEC West again.
Now, I know that since there's no longer divisions going into this year, you know, you kind of have a lot of the familiar foes that a few of these teams still have, but it's always about the schedule. And I'm looking at Arkansas' schedule, and their toughest games are at home, but it's not like the home schedule did any favors for them last year because they didn't really have any home performances that are worth mentioning. But still, their toughest games are at home. They have teams that are expected to be good, but is it maybe with the schedule, like, for instance, the home games against Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, and Tennessee, could you see of those 4 games, Arkansas winning at least one of those? Because you know you got to protect home field, and especially in the SEC. But if Arkansas was going to win 1 or maybe even 2 of those, who do you think would be the most likely candidates for Arkansas to get a victory against?
Well, I'll say this. I mean, the defense has to be better. You know, are they getting more pressure this year? Is Landon Jackson just wreaking havoc on the SEC? You know, what's the secondary look like? You know, I like some of the guys that they've brought in. You know, they forcing turnovers. To me, if the defense can improve and the offense is much improved as well and executing, yeah, you can steal some of these. I mean, the game at Oklahoma State is going to be tough in week 2, but I think, you know, there's a world where you can pull that one out. And then to me, it's all about that week 4 game at Auburn. And if you win that one, you know, Auburn is sticking with Peyton Thorne, and they've improved the weapons around him. They've gotten better wide receivers, but Hugh Freeze is in a real bind, like hitching his wagon to him. I'm shocked that Auburn did not add another quarterback in the transfer portal. Even if you don't think he's going to beat out Peyton Thorne, just bring in somebody to push him. I mean, even Brian Kelly looked at the writing on the wall with Garrett Nussmeier at LSU and said, you know, we need a seasoned backup that can, one, push him, but also if Garrett Nussmeier gets hurt, we have somebody we can plug in there. So they get A.J. Swan, who started a bunch of games over at Vanderbilt. Not saying he's a world beater, but at least he's somebody with skins on the wall that can come in and push Nussmeier, who's actually got more SEC starts than Nussmeier already. So I'm just shocked Auburn didn't do that. So my question is, what happens if Peyton Thorne isn't that guy? It doesn't take the step forward. And we saw that last year. The offense was very anemic for Auburn. So, you know, that's one I look at, that if Arkansas can pull off the road upset at Oklahoma State and then pull off the road win at Auburn, you're talking about going to a A&M game at 4-0. And at least historically, at least since you've been playing this rivalry, like, the last handful of years, Arkansas has been competitive in this game. A&M is going to be improved, but still not a world beater. Like, I think that is a winnable game. And then who knows? You win that one, you come home 5-0 against Tennessee and LSU. You lose both of them, you're still 5-2 going to Starkville. So, I just think that those are, if I'm putting the start of the season like in tiers, I'm saying those are at Auburn and neutral field against A&M are winnable games. Obviously, at Oklahoma State, like I said, it'll be tough, but I just think that there is a world where Arkansas can win a couple of close games and be 5-0 going into that Tennessee game, and who knows from there. So, if you lose at Okie State and you lose at Auburn and you lose at A&M, then this thing starts to unravel very quickly. And you're 2-3 hosting Tennessee, and the Boo Birds are coming out and fire Sam Pittman and all that kind of stuff as the narrative starts. But like I said, I do think there was a world where Arkansas, if this offense is humming, and I love you get the tune-up game against Pine Bluff to start, but and I love that they moved it to the Thursday too, by the way, to kind of give yourself your own audience, your own time. So we'll see what they do, but man, I think the schedule sets up. It could be worse, right? I mean, you could get Ole Miss or Texas in those first few weeks, and we'd really be saying, man, this is brutal. But I do think the schedule does set up a little bit more favorable for Arkansas, where you don't have to play Bama, you don't have to play Georgia and some of the other teams, that are highly thought of in the conference.
Which of the teams, though, in the SEC, and you can even mention the ones that Arkansas ends up playing, but is there a team that you feel like is overhyped right now, or maybe that one that people just assume is going to be good, but you still have a lot of questions about them and maybe not be as good as what people are trying to make them out to be?
I'm still a little skittish on Ole Miss because everybody is so pumping them up. And I know I've dissected their schedule every which way, and I keep going like, if things go poorly for Ole Miss, they're still 10-2. Like it's so hard for me to like look at the schedule and talk myself into them going 8-4, but it still is Lane Kiffin, right? I mean, I know they get the 10-win season last year, they win the bowl game, and confidence is at an all-time high. And they've added through the portal, and they've had a lot of big names, but there is a big C word that still has to matter, and it's called chemistry. And we've seen some of these teams through the portal, when you build through the portal and go get big names, a lot of times it works, and a lot of times it doesn't. There are times where we've seen, oh man, look at we got this guy from this school, this guy from this school, this guy is a fifth-year senior. He's played a ton of snaps, and then he gets in the SEC and he doesn't gel. The left guard doesn't gel with the left tackle next to him, and we've just seen consistency problems out there. And so, yeah, look, Ole Miss has killed it through the portal. I still think Pete Golding is a really good defensive mind. The Ole Miss defense was much improved last year, but I think we are underrating the loss of Quinshon Judkins. I mean, he was one of the best running backs in the SEC the last 2 years, and to just dismiss, they'll replace him, I think is a little naive. And I think Jackson Dart, that passing game, benefited from Ole Miss being such a good run team. I mean, we think of Ole Miss and we think high flying and throwing the ball all over the place. Now that works against LSU last year because their defense was god awful. But in your tougher games against Georgia and Alabama, where you had to run the football, they weren't able to do it. And so, I just worry about that for Ole Miss. But again, they lose Alabama from the schedule. They lose, a couple other tougher teams. But, again, everybody and their brothers got Ole Miss as a preseason top 5 team. Everybody and their brothers picking them as a, maybe not to win the SEC, but at least, get into the playoff at 10-2. As we know, 10-2 probably gets you in. I just worry, and this is what I've been saying for all offseason, John, is I worry that we're going to have 4 or 5 teams that go 10-2 in the SEC this year, and tiebreakers come into play. And if Ole Miss's 2 losses this season are to Georgia and LSU or Georgia and Oklahoma, and those teams go 10-2 as well, tiebreakers matter. Those teams maybe get into the playoff over you because of it. So, again, I'm not looking to come on here and just crap on Ole Miss, but when everybody is on the hype train and jumping on Ole Miss is making the playoff, I start to take a step back and go, wait a minute, what's Lane Kiffin's track record here? How many times has he won at a high level? Look, he can go win you a New Year's Six Bowl, but get to the playoff and go compete and win a championship. Let's pump the brakes here a little bit.
Last one from what you get out of here, Gordy. I know we talk a lot of SEC and football and dealing with Arkansas and everything, but as far as going into the summertime, spring practice is over. SEC Media Days will kind of be the next big thing when it comes to availability and talking from players and teams and coaches and everything. And things can change. But as far as like where it is right now going into SEC Media Days, what do you think is going to be the biggest headline, storyline, thing of interest when it comes to not only just specific teams, but also just the conference in general heading into July?
Well, I think, expansion is going to be a topic that continues on. I mean, to me, the biggest story at SEC Media Days is going to be about Oklahoma and Texas coming in. We're going to have all those media members that cover those schools there. And so the presence will be bigger. It'll feel bigger having Sark and Brent Venables there. And there's going to be a lot of questions about adjusting to the new conference. We just had Nick Anderson on our show this week on Locked On SEC. He's the stud freshman wide receiver from Oklahoma last year, set the school record for freshman touchdown catches in a season with 10. He scored the go-ahead touchdown against Texas. I mean, that rivalry gets to, instead of a Big 12 matchup, it comes over to the SEC. But I just think there's going to be a little bit of adjustment to those teams. This isn't playing Kansas and then going to play Baylor. I mean, this is playing, Georgia, Bama, that game you had at Auburn that you penciled as a W. Suddenly, you're a little bit banged up and they eke out a win over you. That's what makes the SEC so tough is that, I looked 2 years ago where Florida and Kentucky, considering themselves at least, a middle of the pack team in the SEC, and they both lose to Vanderbilt. I mean, those kind of things can happen in the SEC because, when you play tough teams consecutive weeks, your offensive line is banged up. Your quarterback's got a nagging injury that he's playing through. That wide receiver drops a big pass. I mean, little things like that happen because of the grind of the SEC. And so that's what I think Oklahoma and Texas are going to have to adjust to. But yeah, I mean, the other big storyline is going to be, okay, Big Ten's adding more teams. Will the SEC add any more? And the talk of the ACC with Clemson and Florida State and, is anybody else jumping ship? I'm sure that storyline's not going to go away as well. And then what's the future of college football really with NIL and paying players? And, will players become employees if they start to get checks from the schools, which is something that's on the table? So there's a lot of stuff that's on the table. The only thing I keep saying, John, is can we pump the brakes a little bit? Can we slow down a little bit? Can we all take a collective breath before we automatically, before we even play a 12-team playoff, we want to move to a 14? Like, can we all just take a deep breath and just kind of let's slow down here? The world of college football right now is like go, pedal to the metal. And man, there's so much things changing every day. If you got locked up for something a few years ago and went to prison and you came out, you wouldn't recognize college football coming out.
I know. That's kind of where I'm at too, man. I'm like, I love the adjusting, the fun of it, the pageantry of it, like all the stuff that's still kind of there. But I don't know. I just reflect and just thinking about how much has changed. And it's almost sad. Like I know, I'm like, I don't want to be that way either. It's because, change is possible and it always happens in sports, but college football, college sports in general, it's just, I don't know. I think the scariest thing is we just don't know what it's going to look like here in the next 2-3 years, or even 6 months. I mean, we just don't know what it's going to look like. And it's a scary thing, I think.
Yeah. I mean, tradition and pageantry is what we love about college football. And when we're talking about taking some traditions off the table and, we're talking about a year where Arkansas, how's this for luck? The first time Arkansas doesn't have to play Alabama is the year Nick Saban is gone. Like, that doesn't seem to be fair at all. Like, couldn't they have kept them on for one more year for you guys? But, it's things like that where it's like, we're talking about, schools not playing each other for the first time in decades, and it's going to take some getting used to.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know what's worse, the fact that Arkansas never beat Nick Saban in Alabama, or the fact that Arkansas never beat Kevin Sumlin in Texas A&M. I think I know the answer to that question. But
we always got him too early. If you had got him later in the year, you would have definitely beat him a couple times.
Totally. Or if they just didn't blow a lead in almost every single game, something like that would probably be helpful. But still, it's going to be a lot of fun, Gordy. I know we still got a few months on the way, but it's still always fun to talk a little college football, especially with Razorback football too. But we appreciate you joining us as always, man. Enjoy the rest of the springtime heading into summer, man. And I know we'll be catching up with you sometime here in the near future.
Whoa, pig, man. Yeah, tell Calipari, keep adding those 5 stars. We'll see what this team looks like.
We not done yet either. So don't be satisfied because we not done.
Hey John, Bob Holt, Arkansas Democrat. I added 2-parter if that's okay. You mentioned Arkansas. Eric,
Why do you always talk about Arkansas? But go ahead.
well, why do you always talk about Kentucky?
You missed it. You missed it. You missed it. Just tell me you missed it. I'm not going to go there with you, Dave. Why not?
And that will be the last question I answer with that hat on.
Oh, shoot.
That is why Arkansas is fantastic.
Yes, sir.
You know, and I didn't like the game, but I'm glad I was able to walk off the floor again and deep inside and have that funny feeling that, hey, one more time, Horns.
Best guys. I know it's a tough time for you. The coach is gone, but you got a new coach now, and you got to listen to what he says. Okay, I know you're thinking, oh, who is this new guy? Where's the other guy that crashed the motorcycle? We like him better. He was cool or whatever. Forget about all that. Listen to the new coach and get out there and win some games.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
You guys act like it's... Pick it up a little bit. Okay? Get your chin up. Smile. Smile. Okay? Dang, you guys, all right? If not, I'm not talking.
Big Red, so excited. Big Red. Oh.
Guys, I've got just one thing I want to say to you. Touchdown, Arkansas!
I was a teacher today. Told those boys, welcome to the SEC.
Well, Fayetteville is 1,843 miles away, but the call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
Let's stick my dick in the mashed potatoes. Go Hogs.
Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas.
Every time you put a mic in my face, I'm going to say Arkansas.
The John Nabors Show is live from the Natty State Sports Studios.
Welcome back into the John Nabors Show here live from Natty State Sports Studios. Appreciate everybody listening and watching it on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I am your host, John Nabors. Appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon. This afternoon, we are going to have a great interview, like we already did, of course, with Chris Gordy of Locked On SEC. But also, anytime we get to talk with a current Razorback, it's always great to be able to catch up and get to talk a little football with Rashad Deion, the Razorback running back. He's been through a lot of coaching changes, a lot of uncertainty, but he has stayed strong in his position, and we look forward to catching up with him here in just a second. But before we do that, folks, I got to tell you about Alumni Hall. Speaking of the Razorbacks, they are the ultimate Razorback shopping experience for each and every one of you when it comes to all of your Razorback fandom. You want to be able to have the nicest apparel, the nicest clothing, everything that goes along with it. Well, then look no further than Alumni Hall. If you go to the website, nattystatesports.com/Alumni Hall, if you go to that website right there, that link, you'll be able to check out their entire catalog of all different types of items that you can have delivered straight to your door. Who has time, really, right, to get out and to go to the store? We're all running around like crazy. Well, when you're sitting on your couch or when you're laying in bed and when you're thinking about, man, that old Razorback shirt I got is crap. I need me something real nice. Just go to that link, that website, nattystatesports.com/Alumni Hall. You go there, you can see everything that they have for men, women, children, all the pets. They got Peter Millar, they got Johnny O, they got Columbia, they got the finest of apparel, and it's only at Alumni Hall. So check them out today, again, at nattystatesports.com/Alumni Hall, your ultimate Razorback shopping experience. So yeah, let's go ahead and get to someone very special and someone very unique, and that is Rashad Deion. Let's see what he had to say about Razorback Spring, Bobby Petrino, as well as everything else going on in Razorback football. All right, right now we're joined by a very special guest here on the John Nabors Show. We know that there's a lot of chaos going on with Razorback athletics. You got baseball in full swing, also with basketball, trying to keep up with all the transfers and everything going on. But Razorback football did just end with their spring practice a few weeks ago, and a lot of people are curious about how the team is going to do this upcoming season. So let's talk a little bit more about it as we go ahead and welcome in here in studio at Natty State Sports. It is Razorback running back Rashad Deion. And Rashad, appreciate you joining us, man. How you doing this afternoon?
Appreciate y'all for having me. I'm doing great today. How you doing?
Man, we're doing good. We're doing good. I know The weather's starting to get a little bit warmer, so which is a lot nicer and everything. But I know you concluded spring practice, so just kind of walk us through it. How do you feel like everything went overall, generically, and also just some takeaways that you had from this past springtime?
I feel like every day we came out there and we got better, and that's something honestly, I done seen the program where days is people come out there and it's like we going through the motions. And this year I feel like every day, like somebody got better at something every day. Like it was a lot of attention to details.
Yeah, well, did you say that I know that, of course, there's always changes that go on with every single team, it seems like. But for you particularly with the running back room, what do you make of some of the guys that have been added to the mix? I know Jaquindon Jackson's somebody that people are really excited about. You got Braylon Russell, a true freshman. But just as far as some of the guys that have jumped in and become newcomers on the running back room, just what have you seen from them so far just during the springtime too?
Yeah, I see them like pushing me to get better and also pushing themselves. Like everybody hold each other to a higher standard. And it like helps the team a lot. It helped the running back room a lot because they going to bring it every day, so you got to bring it.
Yeah, it's probably a pretty competitive thing, too, these days, because I was even thinking about looking back on stats and seeing how the running back position has evolved in the game of football for a long time. You know, for a while there, it seemed like a running back getting 30 to 35 carries a game was pretty common. But nowadays, it seems like it's more about committee. But do you feel like with the group of guys that you have going on and you being worked into the mix there, too, do you feel like it's going to be a very much of a shared effort to make the running game and the running attack be very successful this year?
Yeah, so I feel like every dog has their day type thing. So like whoever hot, I feel like they'll go. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, that's probably the good mentality to have, the right mentality to have.
Yes,
now, we also went through kind of a unique situation where your running back coach changed in the middle of spring. You know,
Yes,
I know that coaches change, players change, but to have it happen where a few practices in, you have your coach there, Jimmy Smith, he moves on, and then you have Colby Smith coming in. But what was that like, that transition like, and was it something that took everybody by surprise with Coach Smith leaving? And what have you made from Colby Smith, the new Coach Smith that's been in the running back room with you?
Yeah, it's something that definitely caught us by surprise because it's like one day, you know, everything seemed cool. We all practicing. And then, like, my dog gone. And, like, he recruited me out of middle school, basically. So, it was like, it hit a little bit. But, like, I understand that everything is a business, too. So, I wasn't mad at him or nothing. And the new coach, Colby Smith, he came in, like, ready to work. So, it was, like, no drop-off. And, like, he told us his first day there that this is going to be my worst day. And he ain't lie about that. And it was, like, fun. The spring was fun to me.
Yeah, because I was thinking, too, with the type of recruiting and the element that you mentioned with Coach Jimmy Smith and him moving on, too, people are probably always just with the way it is today. Transfer portal, I know you've had your thoughts on the transfer portal and everything. Is that something that even entered into your mind as far as moving on? Because, hey, my coach is gone. You know, that's kind of right now. The window's open up. Is that everything you even contemplated at all when it came to maybe jumping in there into the portal?
Yeah, like, kind of, but, like, it never got too serious for me because it was just a thought. Like, I'm pretty sure every athlete these days think about it. But it's like, do I jump out there, put my name out there, and end up somewhere I don't want to be at when I got a good situation going on where I'm at?
Yeah, because is that, like, I know it's, maybe weren't around when, obviously not a college athlete, when the transfer portal wasn't as prevalent as what it is now, but does that feel like there's just a lot of added pressure that gets put on and from outside where, you know, hey, if something doesn't go perfectly right or maybe you're not getting exactly what you wanted, that you got people maybe telling you, hey, do this, do that? Do you feel like there's a lot of pressure from outside people trying to kind of say, hey, do this, do that, or do the other?
Yeah, I feel like it's about, like, your mindset, like, as the athlete. Like, if you listening to those people, you probably shouldn't because they don't know your situation. Like, only you. Like, you're the only person that know your situation besides God. So I'll just listen to my heart and talk to God about it.
We're speaking with Rashad Deion, Razorback running back here on the John Nabors Show. Now, talk to us about Coach Petrino, because that's somebody that everybody in Arkansas knows all about and knows how it's kind of come full circle with him. But you had, of course, Kendall Briles as an offense coordinator this last year. Dan Enos was there for a bit. Then you had Kenny Guyton take over, and now you got Petrino. But what has been some of the biggest changes and some of the significance that you've seen from the Petrino offense so far in spring, and why will it make you guys a much better offense this upcoming season?
Everybody on the offensive staff is, like, keyed in on the details, and, like, Coach Petrino made sure, like, the position coaches lock in with us, like, hey, man, we got to get these guys on the details. Everybody get in the playbook. Like, he like own us basically, but in a good way.
Yeah, because people think that he's like a really hard-nosed guy out there, yelling at everybody and everything. But you mentioned the attention to detail. That is, I think, an element that maybe fans and people that aren't inside the locker room really understand the importance of them and what that means. So kind of walk us through, what does that mean when you say attention to detail and everything? What does that include?
It means like locking in on your playbook, basically, like doing the little things right, because it all start with the little things, and that's for like everything in life. So like as long as you're doing the little thing right, like you executing like technique, like what you were taught instead of like your skill set, like relying on skills all the time. Just go back to the playbook and like what the coaches teach you, and it'll take you a long way.
So what would you say that for your own individual, every player's got some goals for the upcoming season and everything, but you as an individual, what are some of your goals that you want to accomplish here as you're heading into your third year as a Razorback running back? But what are some things you want to accomplish?
Yeah, I just want to be like the best version of myself and like give the people like who I know I am, show the people who I know I am, and like not what people may think I am, like that I'm like that guy, like for real.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's something where the team, too, they're looking, of course, all of you guys are looking to improve upon this past season. Didn't exactly go the way you saw, but maybe from the cultural perspective and from inside the locker room, have you noticed some pretty significant changes from where it was last year to where it is this year, just as far as the camaraderie and how everybody's getting along and how everybody feels where the team's at right now?
Yeah, so I feel like we have, like, more leaders and better leaders, like people leading the right way. Like, it ain't all about I don't get that much playing time, so I won't say nothing. It's like everybody on everybody. Everybody holding each other accountable, and that's what like gonna help the team get better and go further and further.
Well, and I know that with the current state of how things are, and knowing that playing in the SEC and having that, what is that like for you as a player? I know you came from high school and you had a lot of offers coming out, but being able to play in the SEC, going out there and having 75,000, 80,000 people in the stands each and every game, and whether it's home or road. But what has that been like for you in your journey so far in college? And is it everything you expected? Has it been more? Has it been less? Just how has it been?
It's been like
journey?
way more than I expected, because like it ain't nothing you can imagine. It's like you got to be out there. Like when they say the SEC different, like they mean that. Like you can feel it. Like while you on the field, like the field probably echoing or roaring. Like you can hear the ground shake. It'd be fun out there.
Yeah, because that's like something that when the fans show up to it, they see the games, and knowing that this upcoming season and the schedule you guys have, I know you're going to take it one game at a time. But I was curious. They moved the first game against UAPB, which is getting played in Little Rock. They moved it to a Thursday night, which is not crazy in college football, but it is a little bit unique.
Yes,
is that something that, as a player, do you kind of like a little bit more, where you get your Saturday off in the middle of the season? I know you guys are going to be ready no matter what, but what do you make of starting the season down there in Little Rock on a Thursday night when college football have always been made for Saturdays?
I mean, I don't play football in high school on a Thursday. It's just football at the end of the day. But I'm excited to go out there and like put on a show for the fans. I hope all the fans come out to Little Rock and support. But besides that, like, I don't know how I feel about it. It's just football.
Yeah. Well, let's hope it's a lot cooler than it was last year.
Yes,
yeah, at least it'll be at night, so hopefully it ends up being a lot cooler. Rashad Deion our guest here on the John Nabors Show. Now, Rashad, I'm curious, heading into the summertime as spring is concluded, just what are you going to be doing? You're going to be going home for the summertime? You're going to be staying up here? Just kind of what do you have planned for the summertime?
Yeah, I'll be here for the most part, training and stuff like that. I'll go home for like a week to my little cousin graduation. But besides that, I'll be spending time with my kid or chilling, working.
Yeah. So how is that? Because I think that's always a really cool thing to see a college athlete like you, big-time athlete, an SEC athlete, but also taking care of your kid too. Just how cool has that been, being able to do both of those things and being able to raise him and to see him, especially at you got so much going on, but still having him by your side?
Yeah, my son only one, so it'd be like cool, but I'm still learning him at the same time, because there's a lot I don't know about him. So I just try to because he don't even know who his dad is. He just living a life. So I just try to be there for him more than just do it. There ain't nothing to it but to be a dad. Yeah. I feel like.
I was going to ask you, how has that changed you as an individual, as a person, going from being a young man in football in college to having a son? Just what kind of has that just impact on you, and not only from football side of things, but also from your personal life too?
Yes, sir. It made me a lot more patient with people. That's one of the things I noticed fast. Like with my son, I have to be a lot more patient because you got to repeat yourself over and over. And like I grew up with probably like what people would call a quick temper, so I don't say much. So like yeah, that's helped me a lot. Like raising my son.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I know people also I always ask these cliche questions because I think it's always interesting. But if you weren't playing football, what would you want to be doing? If football wasn't a thing for you, what would be the thing that you'd enjoy most doing?
Coaching. I like kids in general, so I like helping kids reach their goals. I feel like a lot of people help me reach mine. Like, a lot of people push me since a young age because I've been playing football since 5. So a lot of people push me to play and chase my dream. So I want to help kids do that.
Is there a particular coach then that's had a big impact on you or the biggest impact on you in your career? Because obviously something like that's got to connect you with something where you want to do that.
Yeah, it's a dude named Coach O. He don't even coach football at like high school level, or he just coached park ball. But his name Omari Terry. And he my guy. He my guy. But he like the godfather of park ball football in Atlanta.
Yeah. Well, I know football and coaching is always something a lot of former players do, but do you have a certain hobby outside of football and all though that you do? Anything that you enjoy doing?
Yeah, I like clothes and I like music. So it's like probably like something like YouTube. I'm about to start a YouTube sooner or later.
All right. What's it going to be about? What's going to be on YouTube?
Yeah, it's going to be like vlogging, probably like dad stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Spend time with my kids, show y'all like the day in the life of an athlete with a kid.
Yeah, I see. I think that'd be successful. Someone who's on YouTube and like doing what we're doing. Yeah, we can tell you it's where a lot of people are at too. And I think that people see like this, for instance, what we're doing right now.
Yes, sir.
And being a part of with the NIL and how it's impacted everything. I think it's a really cool thing, not personally, selfishly, because it's cool that we get to speak with student athletes at the team we cover, but also it really begins to humanize, I feel like, student athletes, where fans are fans. They're passionate. They want their teams to win and everything. But they also, when they don't get to see much of the human side of guys, like, hey, you're still just kids with normal lives and everything. But looking at the NIL, how is that? What's that like being in that? Because so many people have an outsider's perspective, maybe don't really understand the goings on with it. But for you and dealing with the NIL, like, how is that lifestyle as far as being an athlete, but also wanting to make sure that you're doing the best you can to enhance your brand with your name, image, and likeness?
Yeah, I see NIL as like a door to many. Like, it opened a door for a lot. So it depends on how you use it and how you attack it. I feel like you can use it to try to make all the money you want to make in college, or you can stay down, make right decisions with your money, then wait for the big money at the next level. But like NIL, it's a tricky subject, so I don't really like to talk about it because everybody feel different about it.
Yeah, well, and see that's where it's like I've tried to get as much educated on the matter as I can, because as we talk to the audiences, they just feel like they have this idea of it, and I think that overall it's been a thing that I feel like has benefited student athletes a lot, but I think there's just a lot of misconceptions and everything. But it really opens it up to where, again, it's great for student athletes like yourself to be able to open up and to have things like this and to be able to do stuff that you weren't able to previously do. So
yes, sir. I feel like the outside noise is it's gonna always be there no matter what. So I don't really pay no attention, to be honest. But like if you're an athlete and you want to know how to like take advantage of your NIL, I'll tell you like put yourself out there more. Like you control how big your brand is, basically, because can't nobody else do it for you.
Yeah. Well, and that's how I was actually reading my next question. What would you tell future athletes as far as NIL, what you've learned from it? But kind of going back to the football side of things, I know we just got a couple of minutes left with you, Rashad, but you look forward to every game. You look forward to the next game. But is there a game on this year's schedule that you're like really excited about more than the others, or one that you're really amped up, or is it just all the next game type of deal?
It's just like all season I'm like ready to kill, basically. I've been through a lot in the past year, and my mindset like a lot different from going into last season. So it's just like every game.
Every game, you're just going to come out with the same mentality and everything.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What's the goal for the team this year then?
Championship.
Simple enough.
Yes, sir.
You feel like you guys got the horses, you got everything you need for it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Love to hear it. So, well, Rashad, we really appreciate you joining us, man. I know it's a slow time right now for you, but I know Razorback fans are excited about the football season coming up. It'll be here before you know it and here in a few months, but have a good summer. Enjoy all the stuff that you got going on, man. We look forward to seeing you play this year and hopefully catching up with you later down the road.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all for having me, and I hope the podcast get bigger and bigger.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
We not done yet either. So don't be satisfied because we not done.
Hey, John, Bob Holt, Arkansas Democrats. I added two-parter if that's okay. You mentioned Arkansas. Eric.
Why do you always talk about Arkansas? But go ahead.
Well, why do you always talk about Kentucky?
You missed it. You missed it. You missed it. Just tell me you missed it. I'm not going to go there with you today. Why not?
And that will be the last question I answer with that hat on.
Oh, shoot.
That is why Arkansas is fantastic.
Yes, sir.
You know, and I didn't like the game, but I'm glad I was able to walk off the floor again and deep inside and have that funny feeling that, hey, one more time, Horn.
Best guys, I know it's a tough time for you. The coach is gone, but you got a new coach now, and you got to listen to what he says. Okay, I know you're thinking, oh, who is this new guy? Where's the other guy that crashed the motorcycle? We like him better. He was cool or whatever. Forget about all that. Listen to the new coach and get out there and win some games.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
You guys act like it's... Pick it up a little bit. Okay? Get your chin up. Smile. Smile. Okay? Dang, you guys, all right? If not, I'm not talking.
Big Red, so excited. Big Red. Oh.
Guys, I got just one thing I want to say to you. Touchdown, Arkansas!
I was a teacher today. Told those boys, welcome to the SEC.
Well, Fayetteville is 1,843 miles away, but the call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
Let's stick my dick in the mashed potatoes. Go Hogs.
Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas.
Every time you put a mic in my face, I'm gonna say Arkansas.
The John Nabors Show is live from the Natty State Sports Studios.
All right, welcome back into the final segment here on the John Nabors Show, presented by Natty State Sports. Appreciate everybody listening and watching, and really appreciate Rashad Deion, Razorback running back, joining us in the previous segment. I know, there's so much going on in Razorback land; it's almost hard to keep up with sometimes, as to what has been going on and what's been transpiring in the ways that they've been. Getting excited about the season, but then there's some people that just aren't as excited. Going through all that, going through all those deals has been, I'm sure, trying for some, especially somebody like Rashad Deion. But it's cool to talk with him. And again, I love it. And maybe I'm making too big of a deal out of it, but just thinking about where we are in this day and age of being able to talk to student athletes that we weren't able to talk to before. Because of NIL, because of those opportunities given to these kids via NIL. I think it's just terrific. So, anyways, big fan of that and big fan of Rashad Deion. We're going to be rooting for him. Before we get into the hey, did y'all see this segment, which I know everybody is always a big fan of, I wanted to let everybody know once again a few updates on some stuff. We're going to be at Tin Roof again on Thursday. It's going to be awesome. 4 to 6. Opening the doors at 3. And we're going to be hanging out on the main stage. And we're going to have some cool stuff going on. We're going to have a pair of baseball tickets to give away to Friday's game. We'll give you details on that, but you got to be present to win. So we'll do that. And we'll give you more details on that as that goes on. But excited about being with Tin Roof and other things too. Also, tomorrow, here on the show, and I'll probably make it on the social media platform too, kind of separately. But we have an announcement to make about some changes here at Natty State Sports. Good changes. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I know my guys are excited about it. We're all excited about it. It's probably not, here's what's funny, is I'm excited about it. It's probably not going to change you at all. It's not going to change your viewing experience or your consumption of what we do here at Natty State at all, because you'll still be, it's going to be changes that aren't going to have anything to impact you. It's more about impacting what we got going on. So either way, I'm pumped by that. And we're also going to have, also I meant to mention this back about Tin Roof. On Thursday, we're going to have some student athletes there too. Some ones you may want to hear from. Ones that'll be really fun to hear from too. But just wanted to give you all some, little updates on that, and maybe a little teaser for that too. But I'm excited about everything we have going on in Natty State. The weather's so nice outside. Like, that's what's going to be so much fun when we go to Tin Roof on Thursday. Is we're going to be outside on their back concert area. Like, it's got a stage. It's called a patio, but plenty of seating. Weather's going to be perfect. We're going to have the speaker set up there. It's going to be the main stage. It's going to be really cool. So I'm excited about that element, and I know it's exciting to see everybody. We had a great turnout last week, and we're going to have a lot of people showing up this time around too, not only for giving away a pair of tickets, but also possibly some gift cards. And I think it'll be really fun too. You got to try the Hoosier Natty. It's the drink that Tin Roof and Natty State Sports have partnered with. Hoosier Natty because of obviously the phrase, but also shout out to Toby Keith, rest in peace. You got to try that out. It was a very big hit apparently over the weekend among all the consumers. So, but wanted to just give you guys all those updates and to see you guys out there at Tin Roof. Some of y'all cracking me up. Because Wonder Bread says, big changes. Andrew must have cut his hair. That affects us more than you think, Jonathan. Well, first off, don't call me Jonathan. My mom will hurt you. Second off, Andrew cutting his hair off. I don't even know if I have the ability to do something like that. I just don't think I do. But all right, let's go ahead and get into Hey JLC. This is a couple of storylines before we dive into the final part of the show and sign off and get ready for the rest of the day. Beautiful day, shall we? First off, that's not what I wanted to show. This is what I wanted to show. So how about this? So I thought this was I always think high school recruiting is just like everybody else, a little bit overblown and ridiculous. But a high school quarterback who has offers from programs like Georgia has committed to Toledo. Toledo. Remember Toledo, the team that beat Arkansas? Nah, we don't need to talk about that. Don't need to talk about that. Either way, the fact that he decided to find home in Toledo at the MAC program that they are is pretty impressive. He passed for 1,600 yards, 19 touchdowns, ran for 460 yards and 6 touchdowns as a sophomore to help Decatur Central to an 11-3 record in Class 5A state titles finals appearance. Sort of waited for a college decision because he had offers to Georgia, Minnesota, Washington, and West Virginia. I mean, here's the proof of it on his Twitter that he received an offer from Georgia. I hear Georgia's pretty good, but he is deciding to go to Toledo. I'm never going to hate on a kid for making a decision like this. It's just interesting. It's interesting that there are kids out there that would do something like this. I feel like most of the time it's kids that obviously, they want to go to the best program for them, and I respect them for it. But to go to Toledo, Ohio, that's where Toledo is at, right? I think so. Not what I was expecting, but also we have an update. Do you guys remember that whole thing with Greg Doyle, the reporter? He's been around for a long time. I'm sure a lot of you do actually remember it, but it was when he was really uncomfortably suspect with Caitlin Clark. Well, anyways, he's been reportedly suspended, and he is not going to be attending Indiana Fever games this season because of that. According to Bob Kravitz, he says in the middle of a 2-week suspension after the Caitlin Clark press conference controversy, he will not cover any Fever games live this summer. He's from the Indianapolis Star. He was at CBS Sports. He was at a lot of different places. But according to multiple sources, he's going to be suspended, and he's not going to be attending any games, which is he should. He shouldn't be. That was really creepy and weird. My thing is like, I don't know what has gotten into the people's situation of media. Like, I know this may sound crazy to all of y'all, but I don't consider myself a journalist. I'm not a journalist. I don't even know if I'm a media member. I mean, barely. I like to consider myself called a personality. You can call it entertainer. Maybe those aren't even good enough. Maybe a BS artist. I don't know. Like any of the above. But even then, I don't think I could ever do something like what Greg Doyle did on that stage. Like, listen, we all want to get clicks. We all want to get, that's how we make our money. We try to do it in good taste, but we also got to pay the bills. So I get that making things go out and go viral for whatever reason is important and is part of it. Whether you like it or not, it's part of it. However, somebody like doing that type of thing in that press conference, I guess it was the heart thing, which I don't know how to do because I don't like Taylor Swift with your hands. That's what he did. He's like, oh, hopefully you do it a lot to me this year. It's like, what? Excuse me? No, that is weird. You're an older man. It's like a college guy. It's, you have some sort of sense. You know, that's what I'm asking about. Have some sort of sense in what you're doing. Have fun. I have fun all the time. We have fun here at Natty State. But if you've ever noticed that when we've talked to student athletes, we just had Rashad Deion on the show. That's a level of respect. You can have some fun. You can chalk it up a little bit. My guys have interviewed, Andrew on his Bombastic podcast has interviewed a ton of the baseball players and talked to them about things. But it's always just been a level of professionalism. And it was just weird to me that that's from a national perspective and it's from a big J journalist that everyone wants to give credit to. But either way, he deserved to be suspended. I don't think he deserved to be fired unless he's got a lot of history on this stuff. But at least they showed some sort of punishment on that. If I ever do something like that in a press conference, y'all suspend me. Y'all put my show on 2 weeks hiatus. Don't ever deal that. Don't ever be that way with anybody, especially in student athletes and stuff too. So, my buddy Devin says, I don't think Taylor Swift invented the heart symbol. I don't know if she invented it, but every time it's done, now everyone thinks of her. Like, it's kind of what happens in pop culture. Things get in, there's a person that even doesn't invent it, but they either claim it or master it or people relate it to it. I'm not trying to say it in the same vein, but I've gotten this a lot from people to be like, hey, where'd you come up with the Hogs by 90 thing? I didn't come up with it, but because I've used it a lot, people just correlate it with me. It's the same thing. Same thing. Wonder Bread says, Doyle over here talking to her like she's his assistant in the 60s. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, it was. The only difference was like, it wasn't even like he was in private and it was being recorded without him knowing. Like he's at a press conference that's got everyone around. So it's someone like, oh, whoops. Didn't know that many people were around. It's like, he's been at all those press conferences. He knew what was going to be happening. So crazy. Aiden says that Doyle set men back in women's sports 10 years. That's the thing too. And man, I don't really want to get too political on this, but I'm just going to be honest about it because I feel like it's necessary. Like that is one of the biggest things of like with women's sports, whether you watch them or not, you respect them and you respect what they're doing and how far that they've come. And even if you enjoy men's basketball more than women's, or you enjoy, softball more than baseball, whatever it is, like you still got to respect the other side of it and respect where they're coming from. And that's why I've always felt like, man, the importance of Title IX, importance of, not having, I'm still going to be a believer that if you're a biological female, you should play female sports. If you're a biological male, you should play male sports and just stick with it. Again, I don't want to get political, but that is one of the things that I'm always going to fight for people where it's just absurd. And so that's where it's like, there's a level of professionalism you have to have in every walk of life when doing it. And Greg Doyle just didn't have that, which, People need to have that too. Great transition, no pun intended, of Jonathan saying, "Hey, John, I know absolutely nothing about Mississippi State. How good are they, and do we match up well with them?" Mississippi State is always going to be a tough out. For whatever reason, Arkansas has done pretty well against them, at least in the regular season for the past few years. And so they're the number 3 team in the SEC West. They're a team that's fighting for positioning in the top seeds and trying to get to regional host and everything. But I have always felt like when you go up against a team like Mississippi State, even if they're down, even if they're up, even if you're better, even if they're worse, whatever it is, you got to be able to be bringing your A game each and every time, because it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy at all. So as long as you have Hagen Smith, and that's what kind of sucks about it in a way, is I feel confident in game 1 no matter what. Like, Hagen Smith is that dude. He's that dude. And as long as you have him, you're going to win game 1. I have that confidence. After that, as we saw this past weekend, not saying that Brady Tygart and Mason Molina are not capable, because they are 100%. We've seen them. But when the pitching is not always there, the offense has to back them up, and they just haven't been able to do that. Leslie says, John, we need you to tell us something about basketball recruits right now. We're jonesing. What do you want to know? DJ Wagner is officially visiting this weekend. We talked about that in the beginning. It's crazy. I felt like the number 2 point guard in the transfer portal, but the number 51 player overall, according to On3. So that's the latest. And I think that Arkansas has a phenomenal chance of getting him. I think Arkansas also, to be honest, Arkansas also has a great chance to get Pryor out of South Florida. I think, as I said before, if you get one of them, that's big time. If you get both of them, hold on to your britches, boys. It's going to get weird. It's going to get crazy. It's going to get wild. Absolutely wild. Porkenstein doesn't like number 2s. Thank you. Great way to end the show. Appreciate everybody watching in and listening into the John Nabors Show. Be sure to like and subscribe to all things Natty State Sports as we are moving like never before. Freight train that cannot be stopped here at Natty State Sports. But we're having fun. And it's fun times right now. So be sure to subscribe to everything that we have going on, and we'll keep it going from there. Same show, same time tomorrow. I believe so. Yeah, 4 o'clock. That's when we start. Same sports channel on Natty State Sports. Have a great rest of your night and rest of your afternoon, everybody. We will see